One of the things that we have been tracking closely here is the massive and growing number of Starbucks where workers are filing for union elections. And of course, we detailed this all started in Buffalo. You had a few stores there that decided that they were going to try to unionize. They ultimately were successful, but not after facing down this insane effort at union busting from the corporates where they sent in executives and they closed stores and they flooded those stores with new workers and they pulled everybody out for these listening sessions. And still you had 2 stores there that ultimately decided to unionize. So one of the things, Saagar, that you and I have been talking about is how is Starbucks now going to approach all of these union campaigns across the country? You have at least 60 stores now that are working to unionize. How are they going to deal with this when you can't just flood the zone at one store? Huffington Post is up with a look at least the legal strategy that they are employing to try to cut this all off at the pass. Headline here says Starbucks is desperately trying to slow a union campaign that has caught fire. The company is doing whatever it can to delay elections. They're wasting everyone's time and money, a lawyer for the union says. What they detail here is that Starbucks is just reusing some of the exact playbook and tactics that they ran in Buffalo to try to prevent or at least delay union elections in these stores. One of the things they did in Buffalo is that they petitioned to the NLRB, the National Labor Relations Board, to say, hey, we need more time, let's push this down the road. And also, hey, the bargaining union, the group of people, the group of stores that should be filing this election and voting on this should be a lot larger than just one store. They've already lost these battles at the NLRB, but that isn't stopping them from continuing to cut and paste the exact same legal strategy with regards to all of these stores, which is just an effort at trying to run out the clock and waste time. So they quote here, Ian Hayes, he's a Buffalo-based labor attorney. He's been coordinating Starbucks Worker United's legal work. He described the company's mounting challenges as something close to carbon copies, quote, the same facts with different proper nouns. The company is making identical arguments and the union is forced to do the same in response. The company's lawyers are just going to continue to raise the same dead legal issue until somebody puts a stop to it. They are not going to stop doing that out of a sense of shame or out of the knowledge they're going to lose, and they are wasting everyone's time and money. So we're starting to get a little bit of a picture of the type of tactics that they're employing.
Yeah, and one thing I learned from this is that even if they lose, which they probably will, it doesn't matter, because when you delay a vote by weeks or even days, it allows the company to hold more captive audience meetings, send more text messages to workers, and organize the actual workers in the store. So time is very much of the essence. They even quote somebody, says, any employer with the resources that Starbucks has available, time is their favorite weapon. And they also point to Amazon and other companies that have done this in the past. When you delay, it allows you to have the maximum propaganda effort that you can upon the workers themselves. And when you're talking here, how many stores are we talking? 60?
60 plus.
Okay, so when we're talking 60 plus stores, you don't want all 60 to go. It's a victory if you get 30 of them not to do it. 45. Say only 15 do it. I mean, it's a game of numbers, it's a game of margins. There's billions of dollars here on the line because they don't want this to be all thousands of the stores that they have. And if they can try and make it a tiny minority, then that's something that very much works in their favor. And then they can delay the negotiations even once those people are recognized. So yeah, it's all a time delay tactic on their part to try and ruin the lives of the workers and not actually have a fair say in what's happening.
So apparently, Howard Schultz in his biography lays out, and they talk about this in this Huffington Post article, with great glee, how an early union attempt in a Seattle Starbucks, like at the beginning of the company, ultimately the workers vote to unionize, and then because you have so much turnover and because of the tactics he employed even then, they ultimately voted to decertify the union before it could ever really take hold. And so that also gives you a glimpse into what they want to play out. Because yeah, if you can keep it to a couple stores in Buffalo, maybe a few scattered across the country in other places, then you drag out contract negotiations. You pretend like you're negotiating in good faith when you really aren't. You keep them from ever getting a union contract. Then in the food service industry, turnover is very high. Young people don't stay in these jobs oftentimes forever, although some do stay for the long term, but oftentimes turnover is quite high. And so you start to hire people and sort of screen them for what their views on the union are.
Right.
And as you turn over the workforce, then you can push for them to ultimately decertify the union and roll backwards to not having the union representation. If you have a mass movement of unionization across the country in, dozens or hundreds of Starbucks, well, all of those steps then start to be a lot more complicated, a lot more difficult to ultimately implement. So, yeah, the other piece with delaying just the union elections is, again, because food service industry turnover is high. While they're waiting for that election to actually start, they can be finding reasons to fire some of the agitators. They can be bringing in, and this is what they did in Buffalo, flooding these stores with new workers that I'm sure they didn't screen at all for their anti-union sentiment. These are some of the tricks and the tactics that they will be using and employing here, because in spite of whatever their progressive rhetoric is, when it comes down to control, when it comes down to workers having a say in their workforce, they are just as regressive as every other corporation in this country.
Yeah, that's well said.
All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. We're going to have more for you later.